Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're in Digo City in the southern Philippines on the island of Mindanao in the province of Davao del Sur. And today we're going to talk about how I became Dr. Laway. Am I a real doctor? What does the name mean? All the questions that have been being asked in the comments, as well as why I named my channel that and why I started YouTube. So we'll get into that and more starting right now. So today I'm actually in Rizal Park. I'll give you all a look around just so you can see what I'm seeing very quickly. So the title of my YouTube channel is Dr. Laway, and it's really it's not my name. It's a play on words, and there is a story to it. It's really more of a joke than anything else. So I am not a medical doctor. To answer that question, I do actually have a doctorate. I'm an attorney, so I have a post-bachelor's degree. It's called a Doctor of Jurisprudence. It is not a JD. A lot of people in the comments are saying you have a Juris Doctor. I do not. They are equivalently the same thing as far as what they do, but they are called different things. So mine is a Doctor of Jurisprudence, but as an attorney in the United States, no one ever goes around and calls themselves doctor. So that's not why the channel is called that, but there is a backstory to it. The other part of the backstory is that in the Philippines, there is a type of shaman or I guess spiritual doctor called a Dr. Laway. My wife calls it a quack doctor. Some people take it very seriously. She and many other Filipinos do not. She is from the Philippines. And I had never heard of it before. But I am very adverse to going to a medical doctor to get treatment. I've deposed enough of them to know that most of them really are charging you a lot of money, and you really don't need to go to them unless you're deathly ill. So I just don't do it. Not saying that anybody else should take the same stance. I'm just saying it wasn't for me. Don't get sick very often, and my wife is just the opposite. She thinks if you get sick, if you get a cold, if you're sneezing, because medical care is so much more affordable in the Philippines if you're paying cash for it compared to what you pay cash in the United States, she thinks you ought to go to the doctor, get antibiotics for everything. That's not the point of life I come from. So she would fuss at me about going to the doctor when I would get sick. And I'm like, I don't need to go to the doctor. I already know what's wrong with myself. It's a virus. It's okay. And she's like, you need to go to a doctor to get diagnosed. And I would say, I am a doctor. I've already diagnosed myself. Kidding about my Doctor of Jurisprudence, but also just saying I'm not going to the doctor. She would then respond to me, yeah, Dr. Laway, a quack doctor. And that became her nickname for me whenever she was mad that I wouldn't go to the hospital or thought I knew it all, I guess. So that's where I had first heard of it. So flash forward to when I'm creating the YouTube channel. It was literally, I think it was, if you look in the About Me thing, it was like March the 6th of 2020. And so we were planning on going and traveling the world, coming to the Philippines, and I needed a name for the channel. So I was like, well, I'll put up Dr. Laway, because I had to come up with something. So I registered as that, didn't know if I would ever put any videos out for the general public. The idea originally was I would be able to share my adventures and my travels with people back in the United States, my family, my children who were going to be away at college at that time, and they could kind of see what I was doing, and I had free video storage. So that was the name that I put in there as a holder, and I never did change it. And so as I've been traveling the world, and as I've been going to places like Albania and Serbia and then Thailand, nobody ever asked about the name. They might ask, are you a real doctor or are you not a doctor? But they would never ask about the meaning of the name. And I'd really kind of just forgot about it. And then we got back to the Philippines, and of course, Laway in Filipino, Tagalog, Bisaya, Cebuano, it all means saliva. So Dr. Saliva. And everybody was asking me about that, and I got tired of kind of answering the same question over and over again, and it seemed better to put it in a video for a full explanation of how that happened. And so that's what I'm doing here. So take a break for 1 second, and be right back. Had to let that truck pass. It was really, really noisy. Noise pollution everywhere in the Philippines. So the double meaning of the name was Laway. So I'm a lawyer. I do things law way. And that actually came from a movie back in the, I guess it was the early 90s, maybe in the 80s. I can't remember. Anyway, I saw it in the 90s and it was called Young Guns 2. And so there's a scene where the lawman, the deputy or sheriff, comes in and he says, I do things Laway. And they start calling him Mr. Laway. And so it just kind of was a double thing of the nickname that my wife had given me and the, you know, that movie that I thought was hilarious and kind of mixed in with the law. And that's how I chose the name. That was as much thought that was given to it. It had nothing to do with being a medical doctor. It had nothing to do with being a shaman in the Philippines. It was just a joke. It was a joke. And at the time that I picked it, I wasn't planning on putting out travel videos for consumption for everybody else. I didn't make that decision until much later. And again, if you look at the description of my, in the About section, you'll see on March the 6th is when I created the channel and I named it that. And then exactly 7 days later was Friday, March the 13th of 2020 was when I was sitting in a mediation in Tennessee and the person who owned the office brought a order in to me and the mediator and the other attorney who was conducting the mediation and showed us that the Supreme Court had just shut down all of the courts due to what was starting to happen in the world. So that's when my state shut down. That's when they shut down my business. So we weren't traveling at that point. And so the YouTube channel just, you know, it went on hiatus till about a year later when we finally did leave the United States. And I was starting to make videos that I was going to put up for my family. And then for lots of different reasons that I'll go into and maybe in another video, I started a YouTube channel and thought, why not? Let's see if we can get 100 subscribers. And from there, it's grown to what it is today. So that's really the entire story behind the actual name and what it means, whether or not I'm a doctor, and how I started the YouTube channel.